Yes, we are good to go.
Super. All right. Well, good afternoon. Sorry for any delay in progress here. We're dealing with technology, which is a wonderful servant and a terrible master. But the idea here is we're here to talk to you today about writing cover letters and understanding the concept of such. And I want you to understand that a cover letter is important because it allows you to communicate specific information to a particular employer. Now, last week we talked about tailoring your resume to an opportunity, and you always want to do that. But like I tell students, if it's the same type of opportunity over and over again, your resume may not change significantly. In other words, you're continually telling the employer what it is that you have to offer in terms of your content knowledge, your skill set, your experience. But the idea with the cover letter is it's an opportunity for you to go into a little greater detail and to highlight things that may be of specific information for that opportunity with that employer. So without any further ado, we're going to move into our next slide. I'm Jeff Patten. I have been a career counselor. Actually, my title now is career consultant because we do more than merely counseling. But I've been at UTSA for 4 years now. I have over 14 years of experience helping clients write effective cover letters. And this is what we're going to talk about today. Purpose of the cover letter, the reason for writing it, general guidelines, and they're exactly that. Everything else being equal, these are the things you want to pay attention to. Tailoring your document to the opportunity and resources that the University Career Center has available for you to, again, perfect your cover letter. So what is the purpose of the cover letter? Cover letter first is to interest the employer. So this is a way for you to get their attention and say, hey, I'm interested in this opportunity with your organization. It is a way, again, to market your qualifications. In other words, specific things you've got that match what the employer is asking for. It is also an opportunity for you to demonstrate effective writing skills. One of the NACE career readiness competencies is communication, and that means being able to write an effective memo, email, letter, to communicate accurately, concisely, and give, again, the reader the information they require. So for many employers, they are looking at what you're communicating to them as a response to that position description. Again, if they're asking for particular things, are you showing them how you have that? And it's also a way to provide more detailed information on one or two items from your resume or CV. Now, let's talk a little bit about why we call it a cover letter. The reality is it could be called different things. So a cover letter is essentially like a cover sheet if you're sending a fax. I know this is old technology, but there are still people, there are still businesses and organizations that use fax machines, or they're doing it through their computer, but it's still a facsimile. The idea here is you got a cover sheet when you send a fax. This is what I'm sending to you. So it lets them know in advance what to expect. Your cover letter covers your resume, okay? And back in the day when people used to send materials, again, via various transportation sources, ship, train, etc., they would send a cover letter or a letter of transmittal. I worked with one faculty member at a different institution. They always talked about a letter of transmittal. I'm going, huh? But it was because that was what was being transmitted. That was what was being sent to the receiver. You will also see this as a letter of interest. Okay, It's called that because you should be demonstrating your interest in that opportunity. Again, this is about effective communication. So you want to show them your interest. You want to provide a little bit more detail about specific items that you want to stand out to the reader. Okay, so some general guidelines. First, cover letter is not academic writing. You are not waxing poetic about things. It is direct and to the point. It is business correspondence. By the way, I have a couple different items that I used in putting this presentation together, including Better Letters, a handbook for business and personal correspondence, and cover letter guide and personal correspondence. This is about being able to write effectively and provide whoever the reader is with good information. Though a resume should be tailored to a position, as I mentioned, if you're applying for the same type of position, your information in your resume may not change a lot. Your cover letter is always, always, always specific to the position, to the extent that you want, again, to show them how you're prepared for this. And the idea is this is a business letter, so you're going to include the business address, the organization, and your greeting. This is why it has to be tailored. It's very easy, by the way. This is a mistake I've made, and I know lots of other people have. But when you're writing a cover letter, you need to proofread the letter. I cannot emphasize this enough. Read it, reread it, have someone else check it for you. Because if you're sending out a lot of applications in short order, you may be just cutting and pasting and saying, okay, I get, just change this and everything else is the same. Well, the reality is if you get their information wrong, you send it to the wrong person or to the wrong business, it's going to go in the trash. Okay. It's like getting mail that's addressed occupant. What do you do with that? You don't read it, you throw it away. So make sure you're addressing the letter appropriately. You want it tailored to the opportunity. It should be a single page. There are rare exceptions when it can be more than a page, but the reality is this is like your resume, learning to edit yourself. And there are essential things that need to go in there, telling them the position that you're applying for. I spent my adult life in higher education. It's always position title and position number. If you're applying for a large multinational organization, you're applying for a position with them, and they have multiple divisions and they have similar positions across divisions, you want to make sure that your letter gets to the right place. So again, position title, position number, make sure in the address, the inside address, that you've got the correct information. And then you want to bring up specific things that are going to attract their attention, that are going to let them know, yep, I know what this position is about, and you can read in my resume more information that shows why I'm a good fit. Know your audience, do some research, know the organization and what they expect. This is the other thing that you want to understand about a cover letter. It is an opportunity, again, to provide more in-depth information about one or two specific things you want to stand out. If you've attended my prior sessions, I talk about your resume being a snapshot, a quick picture of what you have to offer. Well, if your resume is a snapshot, your cover letter is a magnifying glass. It's where you get to focus in on specific things you want to emphasize to the reader. Now, in this day and age, things are most likely going to be sent electronically, but if it is something that you print it on neutral paper, white, light gray, light blue, ivory, nothing garish, nothing. Again, same thing is true when you're creating a cover letter. use normal fonts, use things that are easy to read, make sure that, again, whoever is looking at this is going to be able to get the information clearly, accurately, concisely. The letter is written in a conversational tone. So, dear Director of Human Resources, here's the position I'm applying for. Here's why I think my qualifications match what you're asking for. I've been interested in your organization since or because of these things. So you want to demonstrate your interest in the position. You do not need to wax poetic about how great their organization is. They know they're great. What you need to do is show your interest in the organization and what it is that motivates you to apply for this position. You want to demonstrate your qualifications. Again, specific things. There are going to be requirements in the position description. You want to make sure you're demonstrating that you have those, especially if they have preferred qualifications. In other words, we're really looking for this. You want to show them how you have those preferred qualifications because it's making you stand out against the rest of the applicants. Okay. And at the end, you want to indicate to the employer how they can follow up with you, your availability. Okay. Now, this is a short presentation, but I'm going to be here to answer questions at the end. And the reason it's a short presentation is there's some basic guidelines that we're talking about. But beyond that, then you need to develop the content. You know what you want to stand out to the employer. And it's a matter of developing that in a way that is concise, accurate, to the point. To help you with that, it's a good idea to start with an outline. So these are the things that you have to show to the employer. Your attention, okay? What it is that you want to apply for. So I'm submitting, be direct, okay? Do not beat around the bush. I want to submit an applicant. No, I'm submitting an application for position title, position number. Tell them where you learned about the position. The idea here is you want to let them know, hey, you're spending your advertising dollars, you're promoting your positions in the right places. And so whether that's Handshake, whether that's Indeed, or whatever resource you're using as far as the job posting, let them know, I saw your position posted in Handshake or Indeed or whatever. Your interest. I was excited to learn about this opportunity. Again, you want to show them some enthusiasm. Ideally, you want to stand apart from other applicants. So show them a little bit about what you have to offer and your enthusiasm about the opportunity. Tell them why you're interested, how you're qualified. Your final paragraph, and again, paragraph, it's a couple sentences, but you want to request the opportunity to have a more in-depth conversation with them about whatever the opportunity is. So it's a call to action. I look forward to the opportunity to talk with you in greater depth about this opportunity, this position, and contact. I'm available to speak with you at whatever reasonable times are for you, at this phone number, this address, whatever, email address, and your signature. It's really simple, but you want to demonstrate, again, draw their attention to you, demonstrate your interest, give them some information about you and why you're a desirable candidate, and then call to action. I hope to speak with you in greater detail about this opportunity. So what are the key components in a cover letter? Well, first, your address. Now, you do not have to give me your specific street address. You may if you wish, okay? Some applicants are reluctant to put all of their information out there, but at least let them know you're in San Antonio, Texas. Or if you're applying for a position back home, wherever you live, let's say you live in El Paso, you might want to let them know that you're, again, that's your home. So it's El Paso, Texas. The idea here is you want to put an address and then a date and then an inside address. So this is the address of the organization. Now, put in as much detail as is appropriate for the opportunity. If you cannot find all of the details about the organization, at least what is the organization? Who is this information going to? You should be able to find that information either in the job posting or by doing a quick search online of the organization. Know where the job is located. In this day and age, lots of jobs may be remote. So even though the organization may be in, let's say, Kansas City, you could conceivably work for them from San Antonio. But you want to make sure you're getting this information to the right person. So inside address is important. In days when people actually sent things through the post, through the mail, the idea of an inside address was, well, if the address on the envelope got ruined, they couldn't read it for some reason, an inside address would allow them to still make sure it got to the right place. So inside address comes after your date, then your salutation or greeting. Dear, again, this is really important. It is always, always, always addressed to a person or a position. If you cannot find a name as far as who this information is going to, dear Director of Human Resources, dear Search Committee Chair, dear Internship Coordinator, it is never, I cannot emphasize this enough, it is never to whom it may concern. That's like getting mail that's addressed occupant. Again, what do you do with that? In the trash. So you want to tell them the position you're applying for. Again, if it has a position number, you might include that as well. How you learned of the posting, whether again, it was through some outside source or from some job board or, like I say, handshake, whatever. This is where you saw the position. Tell them a little bit about why you think you're a good fit for the position. And this is important because it demonstrates your understanding as well as allowing them to know, yeah, why you are someone they want to talk to. Okay, that's the bottom line. So why is the position a good fit for you? Now, one of the things you want to understand when you're crafting your cover letter is, who's your audience? What is it that's going to stand out to them in terms of you being an applicant? So is it academic? Are you applying for a job in higher education, within an academic department, etc.? Or is it something in industry or business? If it's academic, you don't need to spend a lot of time on other things. And again, for graduate students, is the position research focused? Is it teaching focused? If you're looking at other work being done in the academic environment, what is it you want to stand out from your experience? So provide evidence of how you're qualified. If it's in industry, okay, for some of you, you may have done research, you may have been involved in other things. They're less concerned with publications than the academic world is, so you wouldn't tell them about, again, things that you've actually gotten printed in professional journals, but you would show them about how you can apply your research skills to what they do. And if it's business, again, direct application of your research and skills to their enterprise. So I've used these tools, this equipment, this software to accomplish these tasks, and as a result, I think I'm a good fit for this position you're advertising. So this is the basic format you want to follow. And again, the address, again, you can just put city and state. You don't have to give me a street address per se. The date, business address, the organization, and you want to use whatever is the appropriate title if you do have a name. So Mr., Ms., Dr., Senator, or like I say, position, dear Director of Human Resources. The purpose of the letter is stated in the first paragraph. I'm submitting an application for. State the position, Describe your qualifications and related experience in a conversational style. Stay within, again, 3 to 5 paragraphs. This is not, again, an in-depth explanation of all the things that make you qualified. This is taking 1 or 2 things from your resume and providing emphasis on that as you understand the position. So like I tell students, if your resume is a snapshot, your cover letter is a magnifying glass where you get to go into greater detail about the things that make you a standout candidate for this opportunity. Mention the most significant contents of your resume relevant to the qualifications for the position. Highlight educations, qualifications, skills. Describe, again, things you've been involved with, either individual or class projects, research, other things that make you, again, ready to step into this opportunity. Specific experiences, whether those are in class, with clubs or organizations, other research you've done. And then you want to close with a brief summary, again, of what you have to offer, and ask for the opportunity to meet with them in greater depth. This is the call to action that takes you from resume to interview, okay? And that's why cover letters are important. There are lots of employers that will ask for cover letters who spend little time reading them. Don't be discouraged by that. Don't let that keep you from giving them a good letter, because putting it in the proper format, showing them, yes, I understand how to do business correspondence, I can do this accurately and concisely, is what they're looking for. All right. We do have resources available for you. This is one of the resources I talked about, along with the book on Better Letters, a handbook of business correspondence. So we want you to have some samples that you can draw on. If you go to our website, so careercenter.utsa.edu, and you click into resources, I think it's on the 2nd or 3rd page, we actually have cover letter samples. So you can go in and look at those things and see what's there. Again, how you choose to organize the information is up to you, but the previous example I gave in terms of outlining it and what you want to include, the ADA format, is probably going to serve you well in terms of putting this information together. Okay, questions for me in any of this?
I do have a question.
Yes, Alicia.
My question is, okay, so when you write a cover letter, right, is it good to include bullet points?
No, it is
Okay.
a letter. It is a business letter. You do not put bullet points in a cover letter. Bullet points belong in your resume.
Perfect. Now, like, how far can the letter, like, how long, I'm sorry, excuse me, how long has a letter have to be? Like, would you say 3 paragraphs? It's good?
3 paragraphs is probably ideal. This
Okay.
is, again, you want to be concise, you want to be direct, you want to be to the point. We, again, generally recommend 3 to 5 paragraphs. Try to keep it to a single page. Okay. Unless you have extensive experience that is related to the position, and or you have an advanced degree, you probably want to have a single page.
Okay. Is there any words that shouldn't be in there? Like improper words, like any vocabulary that we should avoid or I should avoid?
Okay, so know the language of your field. And this is important because I do not know all of the vocabulary that is used in every type of engineering that's out there. You know what's appropriate to your field, so you want to use that vocabulary. In
Okay.
terms of, again, proper English grammar, proper language, you want to make sure. So I recommend to students with any document, again, you're trying to be professional, use spell check, use grammar check, make sure that it sounds appropriate. But beyond that, it's a matter of remembering that you're being professional and you're speaking in language that's appropriate to a business setting.
Okay.
Other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We just had something come through in the chat, Jeff. What if you know someone who works for the potential employer already? What are your thoughts on including that as a way you found out about the job opportunity?
Absolutely. So you can tell them, in speaking with whoever the person's name is, you learned of the posting and you went to the posting to apply. So yes, absolutely, because, oh yeah, we know that person. This allows them to get more information about you, that personal connection. Remember, networking is still the #1 way people find jobs. And so that's part of networking. This is why it's a good idea when you're putting your resume together, go into LinkedIn and create a unique URL that leads specifically to you and put that in your heading. So your contact information, because they can go in there and see what's there. So if you're following a particular employer, again, you become visible to them. They can learn more about you. So yes, you want to take advantage of those opportunities. Any other questions?
Got plenty of time for more questions if people have. Sorry, it sounds like I started speaking over someone.
That's okay. I was just going to say that I realize this is a little shorter presentation than some of the others I've done. And it's because the cover letter is very specific. It's not broad. It's these are the specific things you need to go in there, and it's business correspondence. So if you think of it that way, I'm talking to someone who has the potential to hire me. I want to demonstrate my interest in the organization and in the position, show them specific things, emphasize specific things that make you a good candidate, and ask them for the opportunity to talk with them in greater detail about that. That's essentially what a cover letter is. Think of it again like a cover sheet for a fax. It's short. You're not writing paragraphs in there. It's those specific elements, and that's it.
That's so true, and it is a really important part of the application, and it's one of the more common questions that I get is people asking about cover letters, because it's they're a little different every time. They, of course, like Jeff was mentioning, really need to be specific to the place that you're applying, but it can be like something that can make you really stand out, both in a negative and in a positive way. So it's just good to know how to go about doing it.
A well-written cover letter will often get you that invitation for the interview. And that's why it's a key thing. Now, like I said, there are lots of employers who request a cover letter or a letter of interest, and they don't spend a lot of time reading them. Because essentially what it's going to do is it's going to lead them to your resume and what you have in there. So it's a way to direct them to specific things you want to emphasize. That's why it's so important. Other questions? Sorry.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
So would you say that we can, so having like a generalized cover letter for a job posting wouldn't work, like
Yes.
I just,
You do not want to have a generic cover letter. Your
Okay.
cover letter always, always, always must be tailored to the position.
Okay.
Even if you're, again, applying for the same type of position over and over again, you want to direct it to the proper person. You want to make sure you're making things stand out that
Mhm.
are important for that opportunity. And this is where learning to read that position description, understanding what they want, and emphasizing those particular things is what you get to do in the cover letter. So while your resume should be tailored to the opportunity, your cover letter must be tailored to the opportunity.
I see.
Other questions?
I know a few people just recently signed in, but we're doing just like questions and answers right now. This session was recorded, so I'll share it with everybody who attended. So just make sure that you've like RSVP'd and checked in on the Rowdy link. But yeah, any questions that you have just like about cover letters and anything, we're just kind of going over that right now.
And I'll tell you what, while we're doing that, I will scroll back through the slides once again. Give me just a moment here, and we will. Let me do it this way, and I've got more than one screen sharing going on here. Let me do this. Let me end the slideshow and start over. Ruben, can you make sure that I'm able to share, because I see myself, but I don't see.
I see your screen. I see your presence. Yeah.
My screen. That's all that counts. Hang on just a second. Let me start my slideshow from the beginning. There we go. So this is essentially what we covered today. I'm going to scroll past me, and we're talking about the purpose of the cover letter, why we do it, general guidelines, tailoring your content. It's to interest the employer. It's to market your qualifications, demonstrate effective writing skills. And this is probably the most important thing. You need to learn how to read a position description, pull out those keywords, that, again, professional language, the vocabulary of your field, and demonstrate that in your cover letter. It's an opportunity to provide a little bit more detailed information on one or two items from your resume or CV. It's not academic writing, it's business correspondence, because this is a business transaction. They are interviewing you. Well, hopefully we're going to get to the interview, but it's here's what I have to offer and here's why I want you to consider me for an interview. It's always tailored, always to the position. Single page, 3 to 5 paragraphs, keep it brief. General guidelines, again, if it's printed, it's on neutral paper. It's written in a conversational tone. So the idea here is this is talking to them. This is about why you're interested in being able to articulate. This is really key. It's about being able to articulate why you're a good candidate for the position and to demonstrate the qualifications you have and how the employer can follow up with you. This is the outline. Attention, interest, desire, action. I'm submitting an application for this position where you learned of it. I was excited to learn about this because, and again, why are you interested in the position? Your desire. Tell them why you're interested and how you're qualified. And then ask for the opportunity to speak with them in greater detail about the position. This is a call to action to say, I want to get an interview. Okay, you don't say it that way. You say, I want to talk with you in more detail about this opportunity. Components, again, your address, the date, inside address, salutation and greeting, always, always to a person or a position. What the position is, how you learned of it, why you think you're a good fit. Again, who your audience is, be aware of that. This is the basic format you want to see. So your address, the date, business address, the organization, your greeting, dear Director of Human Resources, dear internship coordinator, but always to a person. And if you don't have a name, then it's to a position. You can see here we've got 4 brief paragraphs, and again, ask for the opportunity to talk with them and give them your contact information when, again, what's going to be easiest for them to reach you, and your signature. We have, as I mentioned, resources, including sample cover letters on our website, so take advantage of that. And by all means, when you've written one, don't be afraid to schedule an appointment with one of the career consultants, and we're happy to review a cover letter just like we would a resume. Okay, any other questions? Thank you for your attention. I appreciate your interest, and I know this is a briefer presentation than most, but it has to do with the nature of the cover letter and the fact that it is direct and very specific.
Karen had a good question about following up afterwards. We'll be covering that a little bit next week in the interview presentation. So we will, yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit. But Jeff, I was curious if you had a quick rule of thumb or just like some thoughts on that.
So this, again, this is another reason why your cover letter is always specific to the opportunity. Maybe, again, you've seen this posted in Handshake and it's before a career fair. You might want to let them know, I know that you're scheduled to be at the Career Expo on this date. I hope to speak with your representative at that time. So yeah, you can follow up in that way, let them know about a way that you're going to be in touch with them. Always remember with any of this, you want to be courteous and considerate of the employer, because ultimately this is in their hands. In other words, you're submitting an application, you're submitting the cover letter for this, but then they're the ones who have to filter through their applicants and say, yeah, this person's a good candidate, or this person's not meeting the requirements we have, or they're missing something. The same thing is true when we talk about career fairs, okay? Employers have limited amount of time to spend with individuals, and if they're scheduling time for interviews as part of the fair, there are only a select number of people that they can talk to. So do your best in terms of convincing them I'm somebody you want to talk to, but recognize that even if they have times to do that, they may not be able to do it then. So your cover letter is a call to action. It is a way to convince them you're someone they want to talk to. And like I say, in terms of follow-up, give them the best information you have in terms of times that you may available, because obviously if you're in class, you're not going to be able to talk to them at that time. I can be reached at this number after these hours, Monday through Friday. So this is all about sharing what's appropriate for you to share with a specific employer, because you may not want to share that with every employer. Did I answer your question, Karen? Super. I will forward my slides to Ruben, and he is welcome to share them with you all.
Yeah, I'll be sharing the slides, the recording to this, and the and a brief assessment. So just make sure that you are RSVP'd on the Rowdy link, because that's what I use, and then I kind of cross-reference that with the reports from
Handshake
and this Zoom. That's what it's
Zoom.
called.
Oh, okay.
My brain's failing me today. Yeah, so we'll get that out to everybody.
All right.
Any other questions from people? Thank y'all for being here. Next week, we're talking about interviews. So we've got a couple speakers on that about what to do like before, during, and after your interview. So please join us for that as well. You can find that on Rowdy link as well to RSVP for. So we hope to see you there. It's going to be great. Jeff, thank you so much for this and the past few weeks of presenting. It's all been really helpful information, and really appreciate your expertise and time with it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to do this. It's great when I can hit a large audience. And so thank you to all of you who are tuning in for this, because again, it makes it much easier for me than if I had to sit down with each of you individually. So this is great. Thank you for attending.
All right, well, with that, I'll go ahead and stop the recording. And again, we'll send this all out afterwards, the recording as well as the slides. So, and we hope to see you at future events like these.